I'm saving Obamacare to the end, okay?
Best for last. or worse for
Just
last.
so everybody knows, Obamacare is coming at the end. The IRS scandal, so-called IRS scandal. That
Not a smidgen of corruption. Remember that? Remember that great line?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that I asked Stephen Horsford via email and his communications director.
Praetorian Guard, they call it,
Yeah.
The folk who protect him. I'm sorry.
I watched...
That was a joke.
Yeah, that's a joke. I watched Congressman Horsford on Sean Hannity's program, I believe it was last week or the week before.
Yes.
Last week. And Sean Hannity asked him a direct question and a yes or no answer.
Yes.
He never answered yes or no. So I'm going to ask you the same question.
Okay.
And I'm going to be like Sean Hannity and say yes or no.
Okay.
That day was a dust-up, as they called it,
Yes.
between Chairman Issa and I believe it's Vice Chairman Cummings.
Mm-hmm.
And here was Sean Hannity's question. Was that a racial incident?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Now, let me say, I didn't agree with what Issa did. I thought Issa actually hurt his own cause by doing what he did. It was bad manners. But was it racist? Not only was it not racist, but if that case was racist, then I suppose when Chairman Waxman not only did something similar to what Issa did to Cummings, he actually threatened Cummings in a hearing when they were in the majority, when the Democrats were in the majority, and said, if you don't shut up, I'm going to have the police come in here and remove you. Okay. You missed that little piece of tape there.
Yeah.
So if what he did to Cummings was racist, what was it that Waxman did to Issa several years beforehand? Was that racist too? They're both white. So I don't get it. It's bad manners, okay? And frankly, I think Issa took away from what should have been the focus, which is Lerner, who had said that she was coming in, that she was going to not take the fifth, that she was going to talk and get to the truth of this situation. I was the head of a group called the TeaParty.net. We were one of the groups harassed by the IRS. We're one of the largest Tea Party groups nationally in the country. And we were harassed. It took forever for us to get our 501c4 status. We eventually did because we had the lawyers, we had the resources to fight the IRS and to answer every question and to push them and to pressure them. And then eventually we did get our status. But how many other local Tea Party groups, local liberty-loving groups, pro-Israel groups got harassed? How many of them just washed their hands and said, we're going to close up shop, we're not going to even seek the tax-exempt status, because they didn't have the resources that the TeaParty.net had?
Do you think that it is a scandal, or do you think that it is a trumped-up scandal? It's
a scandal, and it's got a lot more than a smidgen of corruption. It has a lot of corruption. If it just had a smidgen of corruption, then Lerner would not have taken the fifth at first, made a statement, by the way, which I think lawyers can argue that she automatically waived her rights to plead the fifth once she started talking, starts to talk, takes the fifth, then agrees with Issa months later that she's going to testify and not take the fifth, and then has a call from the White House, has a little visit with the White House, and then decides to take the fifth. Well, if there's a smidgen, not even a smidgen rather, of corruption, what's that all about? Of course, it stinks to high hell.
Okay. Thank you for answering the question that I or Sean Hannity could not give.
I'm offended that Stephen Horsford, if Stephen Horsford thought it was racist, he should have said so. If he didn't think it was racist, he had a responsibility to say, let's take race out of this. People play the race card too often in politics today. And unfortunately, it's a lot of folk within Mr. Horsford's party. Even Mr. Horsford himself plays the card from time to time, comparing immigration reform to civil rights movement. That's an example of it. He, as the first black elected congressman in this state, he has the responsibility to tell the truth on race. And if it's racist, he should have said so. If he believes it's racist, he should have said so. If he doesn't believe it's racist, he has a responsibility to also say so. The fact that he said neither is a disgrace and dishonorable.
Okay. Just being honest, I mean, you are African American.
I am?
I am a woman.
No, trust me, growing up with a name like Niger, which is named after a West African country, it's very, very clear to me that I'm a black American. No forgetting that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract.
Let me compose myself here. Because every time, especially a conservative criticizes an African American, they're accused of being a racist.
Right.
That's like, and this is my opinion only, and I said this wasn't about me, but that's like every time somebody, criticizes my hair.
They must be misogynist.
They must be a misogynist. So you just hit on it a few minutes ago. There's too much race card played in politics today.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something. From the perspective of a black American, I have a problem with that in two ways. One, what if there is real race, and what if there's a real racial incident, okay?
Yes.
And it becomes a boy who cried wolf scenario. You keep playing the race card like you're Al Sharpton's stepson over and over and over and over again. When there is a real concrete example of racism, well, guess what? A lot of people say, well, there they go again. All right, so from that perspective, it's wrong. But what bothers me even more so is as a black American that has ancestors that lived in our country during segregation, that has ancestors way, way, way back, going back to slavery, we have experiences within my bloodline and within our country's history of real, and not just with blacks, with real palpable discrimination. Why would you want to undermine real history with phony allegations and playing politics?
And it's very unusual, because the statistics say this, not me just saying it. It's very unusual for an African American to be a conservative.
Well, to politically be identified as a conservative.
Okay.
If you were to remove the political parties, Democrat, Republican, and you would just have a series of issues, be it question of life, be it a question of taxes, be it a question of healthcare, strong national defense, the whole litany of issues. Let's say 10 issues. And you remove conservative, liberal labels, Republican, Democrat labels, and you just ask folk within the black community, where do you stand on these issues? What you're going to find is a great deal of diversity. A heck of a lot more diversity than what you see exercised on election day.